All right, we are rolling.
Man, it just takes nothing to get rolling, and your phone's bigger now.
It's huge. You can see
it. I got phone envy.
This is. I actually got a message the other day that when they were flying over the International Space Station, flew over my house, and they sent a message on it that said, "Hey, nice phone."
Yeah,
it's that big. So
I get those messages, but not about my phone.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're rolling. Hi, I'm J.W. Myers.
I'm Karl Brewdio.
And welcome to the Movie Brewdio podcast with J.W. and Karl. We are two middle-aged guys living in Western Maryland who love our small-town lives, yet cling to our past days of social and cultural relevance.
So in our podcast, we talk about the movies, the podcast, and other resources that enable us to walk through life with a smile on our faces and a little bit of kindness in our hearts.
And we're making a movie. Yes, we are making a movie. I changed the opening a little bit.
I like it. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, you did something you've never done before. You read over it once before.
I did. True.
So that was not your usual spontaneity with which you used to do it.
Well, I think because not that I don't trust you, but one day you'll put in,
when you preface something with "not that I don't trust you," that means you don't trust me.
No, I don't want mine to one day say, so in this podcast, banana, crockpot, monkey bed, just random words.
In this podcast, we're two grown men sitting here naked, talking into a microphone.
That's right. We're filling a kiddie pool full of baby oil, and no, we're not. No, that's
making our puppies wrestle in it.
That's Saturday night.
Yes, that's right. Not this podcast.
Not this podcast.
Not this. This is a family-friendly podcast for the most part.
Yeah.
There's rarely any nakedness. I believe I said a curse word last week, didn't I? Or something.
You did. Yeah, I think one slipped out.
Yeah.
But I think you were right. I
was right to curse.
It was judiciously used. It was not gratuitous. I think you were stating your opinion on the writing, I think, of Negan on The Walking Dead, and so you said you thought it was bad writing,
but I didn't use the word bad.
You didn't use the word bad, but I think again, I think it was organic. It wasn't like
it was. Yes, it was an organic curse word. So that means you can let it, and you can use it for fertilizer eventually.
That's right.
Yes, and I think that was the word.
And this word in particular, yes, it was that word.
We are podcasting upstairs today, so there are puppies in the room.
Yes.
And they are very possessive of Karl. They both want to make love to Karl simultaneously, and sometimes that causes problems. So
we call that the doggy daycare.
Karl is an animal person, and they just respond to him.
Oh, bud.
Or maybe it's just that he smells like animals. I'm not sure whether he has a way with them or a smell about him.
It's because I sweat bacon grease. So.
I've never... Oscar just does not... No, Lemon, stay on this side, because then growling and Animal Kingdom is going to happen. As no, this may not work. We may have to send two pups outside.
We'll go puppies. No,
fortunately, it is a warm day outside, so they could spend this entire podcast outside, and that would be okay.
All right.
So much going on,
Yes,
and again,
here
we are at Friday again, and the podcast got put back all week. Again, was going to try to force it on Tuesday, but nothing. We had no school on Monday, so nothing had actually happened by Tuesday.
Right.
And since Tuesday, it has just been a tidal wave of things happening.
Yes.
So I knew we were going to have more to talk about today.
Yes, I mean, it's been a weird week for me because I've been in bed, clinging to life, fighting off this.
I'm glad to see you're off life support now.
It's touch and go.
I think your wife made the right decision.
Oh, she pulled the plug.
She pulled the plug. But you pulled through, and that's good.
Well, I signed myself out against doctor's orders. But I'm here to do the podcast.
Now, Karl has been a bit under the weather, but you managed to show up for improv on Tuesday night.
We
had one of the funniest runs again.
I think we had it was a great improv. It was just so good.
I don't know. We've referred to it on Facebook several times, and nobody knows what we're talking about. There was some nakedness on Tuesday night.
Implied nakedness.
Now, what was the scene? It was like there were 5 people on stage.
Yeah, we were doing Space Jump.
Yeah,
and so Space Jump, for people who don't know, you start with one person doing a monologue, then a second person enters, and when the second person enters, they start a new scene, and then a third person enters, they start a new scene, fourth person, fifth person, and then you work backwards, picking up each scene where you left off. So when we got to the 5-person scene, which can be really complicated.
Yeah, usually 5 people on stage means 5 people trying to talk at once.
Right.
And it generally just doesn't go well.
Right. No, well, I think what happened was, I think Evan started with, what are you doing in here? And I think and Amanda sort of covered herself like she was not wearing a shirt, and so then and then it just kind of went from there. Like,
and then but who even said I'm not wearing any pants?
Well, I think it was why are you in here? Why are you not wearing pants? To me, yeah. And so then the third question was, are you here to steal my money?
Yeah.
And so, of course, yes, we are.
Yes, we are here to steal your money. So
now we're naked. We're naked.
The nudist robbers.
Yeah.
And, for those of you who don't understand, I mean, nobody was actually naked.
No.
But once it's said on stage, that's a truth.
Yes.
So we have a picture in our mind's eye of 4 naked people robbing this guy.
Right, robbing this, and then of course, so then that builds into it a lot of different things. How much money do you have? Where is the money? Now we have to find the money. Obviously, we're naked, so we found the money, but we have no way to get the money because I said yes, of course. How much money do you have? And he said $75,000, which is a lot of money. And so it's like, oh, it's not like a couple $100. So then it was like, how are we going to transport this money? We don't have pockets to put the money in.
But you guys did everything wrong in the scene.
Yes.
In that 5 people were talking at the same time and 5 people were doing things at the same time. But just setting up that picture that everyone was naked. I mean, Vicky and I were just crying laughing.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
No, it's such a great group of just everybody who comes out. They're so willing to play.
Yeah,
and they're so willing to just go there. You know, it's
well, that's
so
the big thing about
gratifying,
improv is just acceptance, yes, and moving on, moving forward.
Right.
And you guys always seem to just logically find the right place to be in the scene. And I know I've never come on and said, "Oh, it was a terrible night last night," because it hasn't been. It's just been consistently excellent, consistent, a great group of players.
And I think
I laughed hard on.
And I think the more you work with each other too, like the more you sort of understand. Like I was doing a scene with Denise, and she made reference to, I think the prompt was, "It's hot as hell in here," and so I started with "It's hot as hell in here," and she said, "Well, yeah, because you're wearing you're I don't know why you wore your sweatshirt to the beach." And so then I thought, okay, well, so I'm wearing a sweatshirt and we're on the beach.
Yep.
So obviously we have some sort of relationship where we would be on the beach together. And so I said, well, I pattern my life after Bill Belichick. But then I had to think, like, I don't know if Denise is going to be familiar enough with Bill Belichick to understand. So then I had to say, like, he's the coach of the New England Patriots, and he always wears a hoodie and whatever. So then that kind of pushes you into, like, well, why would you pattern your life on Bill Belichick? And, well, because he picks up these players that nobody else wants and turns them into winners, and that's what I want to do because our whole world is full of losers. Yes. And, so it's just fun.
But the whole thing was framed in the context of a relationship that was difficult, and how difficult it would be to be in a relationship with a Belichick follower,
right? And how from the Belichick follower perspective, like, why can't you support me in this?
But you really took on Belichick's persona, which we can't argue with the success success of Bill Belichick as a coach. He, is going to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Right.
But he comes across like a very negative, down person, probably simply because he doesn't like the press and that element of the game.
Right.
And he doesn't enjoy talking to the press, so he never has good, exciting win one for the Gipper speeches.
Right. He's contractually obligated to talk to the press, and that comes across
as he should be, because that's all this. I have problems with his reluctance to.
Right.
It's like, well, if you don't want, then go coach high school football where you don't have to talk to the press, but promotion, of your sport is a necessary element of this game, and one of the primary reasons you make millions of dollars a year doing this job. So, but all that said, you took on that kind of dour persona that he has, and I don't know, it was very funny.
Yeah, it worked really well. So yeah, it was just a great night of improv, and it's just some of that stuff is so. I think Christina, who kept being, because we had 7 people, so she was always the
odd one out. Yes,
but her prompt of I can't remember what the line was.
Was it the prom?
Yeah, it was something about a prom, and Denise said, like, I don't know why you decided to hold your prom party
in a sewage
plant. And so Christina, I thought she was actually going to throw up.
Yeah.
I mean, she did such a good job, and she said something about, the smell is so horrible, and Denise said, well, I've just gotten used to it at this point. And Christina, the incredulity, she was like, how can you have gotten used to the smell of the soup? And it just killed me. Like, the delivery of the line, it was so
Christina,
good.
You know what, Christina, let me tell you who Christina is in this class. Christina is the Phil Hartman of our improv group. Honestly, she is like the glue that is always the right element in the scene. She always knows where to go in a scene, and that's... I she's a little younger. She's and so I'm not sure she is completely familiar with Phil Hartman and that reference.
Right.
But yeah, she is definitely the glue that always is just in the right place in a scene and exactly what you need. The role that needs filled. She's
it's the only
funny lady.
It's the only group that it's the only experience I've ever had doing improv where you're playing freeze tag and you don't actually want to freeze and tag someone out because
you're enjoying.
You want to see where the scene goes.
Exactly. I've never had. You guys, the kids are usually freeze every 2 seconds, and the adults are like letting them go on for a minute. And I'm like, God, someone's got to freeze in here.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be little vignettes.
I find myself watching, going, I want to see where this goes. I want to see where they're going to take this.
Oh my God!
No, it was really, really good.
It is now, and I've been teaching improv probably more of my life than I haven't been teaching improv, and I tell you, there's not there's not a stinker in this group. There's not someone that like brings down the level sometimes. Right. There's just not with this group, and that makes it so fun, so exciting, and I'm really excited. We have 2 more weeks of this particular session. We have 1 more class, and then we're going to do a performance. We do Tuesday nights. And then we will we'll be breaking for a week or 2 and deciding what the next phase is. But there will be a next phase. Yeah. I'd like to go to more of a month-to-month kind of status or something. And so we'll see where that leads. But I've talked a little bit about it every week, but I've just been so pleasantly surprised at what has showed up in Western Maryland adult-wise. Going in, I don't know, maybe we can do this once a month or once every 2 months, and it's like every week I have up to I think we had 13 people one week. It's crazy.
And I think it's all people who sort of would have a similar similar sensibility, maybe not similar sense of humor, but they have a similar sensibility about like how you approach comedy and how you approach making people laugh, and like that's something I've always had with like just my friends, where somebody throws out a joke and then you build on it. Right? Like you it's like tennis, you hit it back to them with something extra on it, and then they hit it back to you, and so you take these things and these really bizarre
places,
and it really helps because then you're like, yeah, okay, it's like doing that.
It's really generous, egoless play. It's really, honestly, it's textbook improv. There's nobody coming in with the look how funny I am sort of thing. It's like you're funny when you need to be, and if you got a good idea, that's great. Someone else will support that, and my God, it's just been a pleasure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
so
about
good.
that.
Yeah.
So that was funny this week. I finished Santa Clarita Diet.
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
finish
okay.
Santa Clarita Diet?
I've not finished it yet. No, I'm behind on it.
It didn't end well. And wait a minute, that's not the right word. It's not that it didn't end well. It just kind of was like, meh.
Yeah,
it didn't really go anywhere.
Right.
I think that they were, by the time they finished shooting, I think they were pretty sure there's going to be a second season.
Right.
So nothing. So it wasn't like what we talked about last week where, it could be over now.
Right.
No, we haven't really resolved anything.
Right.
It's like episode 10 or 11, whatever I think it was 10 episodes they did. Didn't end any differently than the other 9 episodes where you're just kind of like, okay, well, I sure hope there's a season 2.
Right. Sure, so
because I really enjoyed season 1.
Right.
Just definitely no cliffhanger, no nothing, just kind of ended.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really loved what I've seen of it so far. I haven't had a chance to finish it. But yeah, no, I'm always interested to see. Netflix is really just becoming that like they're going to do Martin Scorsese's next movie.
Yeah, that is the distributor. I mean, they really have a stranglehold on things, and like I said, I'm sure they found a way around these antitrust laws because they're producing and distributing everything worthwhile right now.
Right.
And as we move into the future,
and I know, like from the Mystery Science Theater perspective, like they did their third.
I saw Mark was posting
his friend,
photos of the premiere and
his
stuff.
His friend Grant does is the puppeteer for Crow T Robot. And,
wow.
Which is awesome. But they did their third premiere in LA, and then that night they announced that Mystery Science Theater will be coming to Netflix, the new episode starting April 14th.
Oh, good.
So it'll be awesome. I'm really excited about that. But I know from that perspective, because I backed the Kickstarter when they were just going to bring the show back and try and get as many episodes as possible, and then hopefully find a distributor for it. So they were independently producing the show, and then they cut a deal with Netflix to bring that to a wider audience. So I don't know if Netflix is... I wonder if that's sort of how it is. Like, hey, look, if you've got the money to produce this, like they produce some things, and then I think other things they go out and say like... There's
deals on every level with Netflix.
So I wonder if that's how they get around some of that. Like, hey, look, well, we didn't produce that show. This other company produced the show.
It would be real. Well, but see, but they're not showing them in movie houses. You're just being distributed through the movie house. In their business model doesn't exist. So I would be interested as we go into our own production and kind of learn a little bit more of the language about how that's written and how they've either walked around it or nobody noticed that they're doing exactly what laws were written to prevent. So I started watching something I heard about a long time ago, and I don't know if you've ever watched. You ever watched My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
I've seen a couple episodes,
Oh, holy crap.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to like it going in, and I think this... I can't believe I didn't watch this before, because I have a really I have a love and an appreciation for musicals, and then when musicals are done tongue-in-cheek in a comedic way, that just puts me on the floor. This show is like I should be writing this show.
Oh, it's so funny. I can't remember the girl's name. And
we're not looking it up.
No, we're not looking it up. But she's
wonderful.
Is it Rebecca Bloom? Is that who it
Sounds Rachel Bloom?
Rachel
Bloom, I believe, yes.
Yeah, so I hope
we're getting that right.
She writes the music.
And
it's such it's one of those shows that it's funny when I watch it. It's never really caught me the right way because it borders on that sort of uncomfortable humor that I don't... okay. That kind of sets me off sometimes.
About you,
Just the idea of like that really uncomfortable like because her character in the show is sort of a train wreck. Like she's, emotionally just whatever. And if you haven't seen the show, basically the concept is she's like a high flying lawyer who runs into her boyfriend that she
from camp 10 years previous.
Yeah, that she was like they were a couple for like a summer.
This is in New York City.
And
finds out he lives in
West
Covina,
California.
And so she turns down a lucrative offer from a law firm and moves to West Covina, California.
Right.
And I think that's
just 2 hours from the beach.
Just 2 hours, 4 with traffic. and there's a bit of that West Coast in joke about it, and I lived out there for a lot of years, so that hits really good.
Right.
West Coast. The opening number is West Covina. And that I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean that's funny.
No, it's so it's a funny show, but some of it's like, so then she moves there and she's trying to get this guy to fall back in love with her, but it's like he's already has like a fiance and
who's a yoga instructor, and then that goes in. And I truthfully, I'm putting it on before I fall asleep, and I'm falling asleep to it. So I'm finding myself waking up in the middle of episode 4 and going, "Oh, what happened in 2 and 3?" So I'm kind of doing a lot of rewatching.
Yeah.
But really, just a clever concept.
Right.
And I believe they're starting a season 3 or
That's
in
awesome.
season 3 now.
Yeah.
And I've been through 2 or 3 episodes of
Yeah.
it.
I've been watching.
Interesting.
I think the only thing I've really been watching this week is the new season of Impractical Jokers, which like. We watch a lot, and it's some of it really works for me, some of it doesn't. But the stuff that works for me really, really works.
That's Comedy Central, isn't it?
It's True TV.
Oh, True TV.
True TV.
Okay.
And so, it's 4 guys. They're lifelong friends, grew up together, and they take turns basically embarrassing each other in public. And it's a hidden camera, prank show. But they prank each other.
To me, that concept works so much better than punked or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't like making fun of the unwilling
of people who don't know. Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be stuff like there was an episode we were watching last night that was they were doing a trust building workshop, and so they bring people in to do a trust building workshop, and so it's 2 teams of 2, and so the guys who are in doing the workshop, they have earpieces in. And they're getting instructions from the other 2 guys. Do this now. Do this now. Do this now. Right? And so it's stuff like, Murray, just yell trust fall and then try and fall down. A cue, you got to catch him. Right? And so do that periodically. And then it's they get everybody up and they're like, let's lay down. We're going to do a yoga exercise. And they're like, some of you lay on your back and some of you lay on your stomach. Right? And alternate. And then they're like, all right, now Murray, ask this person this question. And so they're asking questions to the people who are facing the floor, and so they can't hear what they're saying. Because they're going, what's your favorite movie and why? And the people are going, right? Yeah. And so then it's just them, or they have to write answers for each other. Sometimes they'll do focus groups, and it's 2 guys, one guy's asking the questions in the focus group, and the other guy is answering the questions. But the guy who's asking has written all of the answers for the other guy. So it'll just be weird stuff like, what do you think about this thing? And they've written some really ridiculous, what was there was one there in a focus group. They're like, Sal, what did you write down for, what do you think a good nickname would be? And he was like, Pat Paloma. And they're like, and so then they're like the HPV virus? He was like, yeah, that's just what I wrote down. That was the first thing that came to mind. They have to work their way out of it. It's really, really funny.
I have to take a look at it because the way you're describing it actually sounds really interesting and original. In general, I'm not attracted to stuff like that, but that sounds interesting. And I've heard in a lot of the podcasts, I know it gets advertised on Marin and the Nerdist a lot.
And some of it is interacting with people on the street, but it's always stuff like, it's stuff that's meant to embarrass the guy. It's not meant to embarrass the person, right?
Okay.
So it's
Gotcha.
It's to make the guy say something, and sometimes they'll it's a challenge. So it's like, well, either say this or you have to take the loss. And so sometimes they're like, no, I'm not going to say that. You know, like I'm not going to.
Yeah.
They were doing a bridal show.
Uh-huh.
You know, and so there's these two guys, you know, they're in the bridal show, and these two women walked up and they're like, Sal, just look at him and say, just say no thanks. Right. And so he was like, and you could just see him like sweating, like, am I going to say this or not? So, and then in that instance, you know, he actually said it. He was like, no thanks. And the women were just sort of like, and they walk off, but then they cut and like the guys ran around. They're like, you're on it's, you know, whatever.
Okay.
But then it'll also be things like in that same setup, like women walk over and they're like, Sal, tell them you provide everything, but absolutely no sour cream, under no circumstances sour cream. And so like, we do everything. We do the lights, we do the sound. We'll bring the balloons, we'll bring the flowers. We do not provide sour cream under any circumstances. No sour cream. And they're like, oh, okay. And so then they talk more and they're like, tell them again, no sour cream. And they're like, so I just want to make sure that we're clear. There will be no sour cream. We will not bring sour cream. So it's just, it's a pretty funny show.
I gotta take a look at that. Have you watched the Ricky Gervais series?
I saw it as I was scrolling through Netflix, but I haven't actually watched it. It looks interesting though.
I actually started watching an episode last night, and you know his approach is really. In the first episode, he's still in an office selling products and trying to get the time off to go on this tour. So it really, you know, picks up this character in the office, introduces a new group of characters around him who, and it's that same, you know, Gervais's version of The Office was, you know, different than the Americanized version, and you know, like the Michael Scott here. Well, no, I mean, it wasn't. It's just a different, you know, Gervais and what's his name are just so different. Steve Carell are just so different. Right. But I mean, that attitude of, you know, him just sort of being in his own universe and nobody gets him, it's really interesting, and I think it's going to be very funny. So I'm looking forward to.
I'd say the other thing that I went back and I started watching that kind of on a similar vein musically was. Rewatching Flight of the Conchords. Have you seen
my
Flight
God,
of the
yes.
Again,
I love funny music. Do you know what's his name? Not Jermaine. The other one he wrote all the music for the second new Muppet movie.
Oh, really?
And we play that. That's one of Jillian's favorites. Yeah. We play that in the car all the time. Just wonderful. Yeah. That's what he went on and did. And Jermaine he's done all kinds of stuff. He's got a series on. CISO or something now. And he was in Men in Black 3. He was the principal bad guy in that. Did you see Men in Black 3?
I've not seen it.
You have to watch it. Men in Black, I think did I mention this?
We talked about
Men in Black 3 makes Men in Black 1 and 2 better.
That's good.
Because they're kind of okay.
Right.
But then you see Men in Black 3, it ties together a storyline, and more importantly, it ties together a character line of what brings these two characters together in the first place, and made me cry at the end of this silly comedy. Like, it just made that whole universe make sense.
Nice.
So I cannot recommend Men in Black 3 enough.
I will have to track it down and see it. Yeah,
we watched. That was a Sonnenfeld film. And the other week, I'm sorry, so I'm on a Sonnenfeld kick. I'm not a huge Barry Sonnenfeld fan.
Right.
He's a great cinematographer. I think he's a horrible director, except for Men in Black 3.
Right.
But we watched a film the other week with 9 Lives that started dealing with Kevin Spacey. I thought it was one of Sonnenfeld's best films.
I've seen it, and it's one of those things that
it's like exactly the movie you thought it was going to be. It's so paint by numbers.
Right.
You know, he's killed, comes back as a cat. He's in a coma, comes back as a cat. Magic spell, Chris Walken, blah blah blah. You know, I mean, yes, you know it's done. But my 8-year-old daughter hasn't seen this.
Right. Doesn't understand the trope.
Yeah, it doesn't understand the trope. And it's Kevin Spacey and Chris Walken, and they use a lot of animatronics on the cat.
Yeah.
And I think we watched it 3 times on our Redbox rental.
Well, that's pretty good. No, I think Ethan looked at it because he loves cats.
He would Ethan would love this movie. And it was tolerable for an adult if you can put up with, you know exactly every point it's going to hit. I was just surprised that we've gotten to that place with studio films that Barry Sonnenfeld directed this.
Yeah.
2 Addams Families, 3 Men in Blacks.
Yeah.
2 Get Shorties.
I forgot that he did Addams Family.
Yeah.
And I loved the first. I really actually loved.
I didn't like either of those.
I really liked both Addams Family movies. I will say I liked the original. I liked Addams Family better than Addams Family Values, but I thought Raul Julia was really good in it, and Christopher Lloyd.
I thought
really
performances were really great.
Angelica Houston is really good as Morticia. Yeah,
there's a restaurant in Los Angeles. This is a name dropping story. It's not really a name dropping story because it wasn't a personal rep. I just happened to the Toy on Sunset. I used to go and eat at all the time, and Chris Lloyd, when he was in the Addams Family Value phase and he was all shaved, bald, and stuff. I saw him several times sitting there with his script, studying lines, having dinner, and I don't know. That always stuck with me. Yeah. It's not. I didn't meet him. There's no account. There's nothing more to this story other than eating dinner simultaneously in Hollywood with Chris Lloyd during that period.
That you used to regularly have dinner with
I had
Chris
dinner
Lloyd.
With Chris Lloyd several times.
On a regular basis.
Yeah, while he studied his script.
With
zero interaction.
At different tables.
At different tables.
Right.
We ate simultaneously.
It's like saying, I slept with Angelina Jolie, in that we were both asleep at the same time. In completely different locations. Yeah.
But in the same city. But I'm pretty sure that happened.
Yeah.
I think she spent some time in Los Angeles.
Almost every night.
Yeah. For 17 and a half years, I slept with Angelina Jolie. Yes.
Right.
And my wife was there for the last 9.
Right. I mean, so there you go. If that tells you anything. Crazy days, crazy nights.
Yeah, quite a culture out there. So we covered that movie. Something I want to mention, because maybe I'll get this out, but I'll probably get this out later this afternoon. Yeah. But tonight at FSU, there's a screening of Moonlight. It's a free screening in the Atkinson Room at the Lane Center. And so Tess and I are going to have some friends babysit. We're going to go over and watch, because I haven't seen Moonlight.
Yeah.
But this is one of the exciting things about teaching over there is they really just constantly have cultural events and meditation classes and screenings and plays, and there's always fun things going on there. But I saw that posted this week, and I'm like, I am going to this.
That's really cool.
Definitely going to it.
Yeah.
So,
no, it sounds. I've read just sort of a synopsis, kind of roughly what happens in the movie, and it sounds really, really good.
Well, the one gentleman won the Golden Globe, because I remember seeing this. I didn't even end up watching the Golden Globes. I feel very disconnected from the whole awards community these days. But I understand it's a really good film, and I'm excited to see it for free, even.
Hey, yeah, free movie.
The price is right.
There's certainly nothing wrong with free movies.
So that's exciting. The other thing that was on TV last week, were you into the Planet Earth series?
I saw some of them. Yeah, the BBC series.
Planet Earth 2 has premiered, and the first one premiered last Saturday night. So I watched the beginning of it. My God, it was stunning photography. 10 years ago. Now we're 10 years later, and they're literally like putting cameras on lemurs as they jump
and stuff.
So it's like a lemur with a GoPro going from tree to tree. I mean, that's crazy.
Lemur with a GoPro.
A lemur with a GoPro.
And I think they were really able to capture so much. And they don't shoot those. The BBC has never shot documentaries, like wildlife documentaries, like a typical wildlife documentary. You know, it's always kind of finding a storyline, finding the drama in it, and presenting it like any other kind of documentary. It's not like here's some bison standing in a field. It's like
well, you've got David Attenborough again doing the narration, and it's just a voice you're familiar with, a face you're familiar with. You know, he's still at it, and just very exciting. So I love that. And that's again something I can watch with the kids, and we can all enjoy, and just really marvel at the beauty of the planet, but also me, I'm marveling at the technology that is capturing the beauty of the planet. Yeah. The big one was in the first one, they got that shot of the great white shark, or was it the orca?
Oh, yeah.
Leaping out. It was a great white shark. Yeah. Leaping out of the water, extending its jaws, and catching a seal mid-leap. Yeah. It was, we were seeing seals leap in the water, and then a great white just jumps up, catches the seal mid-flight, and literally bites it in half. And they'd slowed it down a gazillion times. And, I mean, it was horrifying and beautiful and all those things at the same time. Just going, oh my God.
Yeah, like how... Yeah, I think your technology is... your ability to bring that stuff more and more and more, because you were talking about I'm sure you'll probably touch on this later, but like drone technology, shots that you can get shots that you can get with a drone now, where 5 years ago the camera on a drone was it was decent. You can get fairly decent quality pictures out of a drone, and now I mean you can capture incredible quality.
Well, this will bring us to, I was going to get into this subject. Yeah. We'll kind of back into it because you've brought it up. Is I shot a film on Wednesday. When I say I shot a film, I acted in a film. Right. And, I'll even get into the story of how I even get into this later. But like I said, we're going to come back into it from the drone perspective. So... this goes back to, I'll actually start 5 years ago when we were shooting A Christmas Tree Miracle. Right. Christmas Tree Miracle takes place on a Christmas tree farm, or a large part of the story does. And we had an amazing cinematographer at that time, Ryan Schlagbaum, great friend of mine. He shot the film, he edited the film. None of anything that has to do with my two pictures would be even remotely possible without Ryan Schlagbaum. He was really the guy who made it all happen. Tremendously talented guy. But 5 years ago, drone technology wasn't quite there yet. And so we wanted, and again, we're talking a very low budget film. We wanted an overhead shot of the Christmas tree farm. So we pulled some favors in the wheeling area, and we got, a helicopter pilot to fly Ryan over the Christmas tree farm with... the Canon Mark 3 D5 camera holding it over the farm. Right. Well, as you can imagine, Ryan in a helicopter with a handheld, essentially consumer grade camera, the shot was just shaking all over the place. Right. And Ryan, God love him, Ryan loved his shots, and he was the one up in the freaking helicopter getting the shot. So the first draft of the film came with this shot of, the camera of the Christmas tree farm, all very shaky. And it's like, God, Ryan, I know the trouble that you have gone to get this shot, but this cannot end up in the film. Right. Cut to 5 years later, the DP on this film, his name is Aaron. His last name is escaping me, and again, I'm not going to look it up at the moment, but just another really, really tremendously talented individual, obviously. But he has some toys, and again, this film, I don't know what the budget is, but I'm reasonably sure it's even less than we had to at that time. But he had a drone. And so in my opening shot, when I arrive at the cabin, which is the title of the film, I'm the sheriff who arrives at the cabin. My truck we think there's some trouble at the cabin. Right. There's been some voices and screaming in the woods. So I'm arriving as the sheriff check things out. And so
you're from Texas.
I'm from Texas. Right. You wouldn't know now because I've shaved the beard, of course. Yes. But so there's a long shot of us coming down this dirt road. Well, Aaron decides to shoot it with the drone. So this thing is lifting off the ground. He did a couple just sitting up there, just catching this overhead shot, which again is balanced and stabilized perfectly with the GoPro shoved in there. And his remote control has your iPhone 6 sitting on the remote control, watching the shot that he's getting, adjusting it just a little bit to keep the subject in there. And then we did the shot 4 or 5 times. He got it the first time. Right. We did it 4 or 5 times for some variation. And he literally had it so I was coming down around the bend, And as I came around the bend, that freaking drone is sitting right in my path. And as I move toward it, it slowly lifts up and over me as I drive over it and comes around and follows me from. I'm sitting here going, oh my God. And then just the low res playback that he's showing me on the phone of what he got. I'm like, this is a shot in $100 million film.
Right. I mean, it's a shot that 20 years ago, logistically, you would have needed a helicopter pilot. I mean,
a week.
A week.
You
would have needed. I guess you would have had to.
10 minutes of our day.
You would have had to rehearse that.
10 minutes of our freaking day.
You'd have to have a steady cam. To get the footage right. Yeah, I mean, and now it's the democratization of film, which we've talked about before, that now anyone can make a film, quote unquote film, and so lots of people do, and so there's a lot of stuff out there that's not very good. But when somebody really knows what they're doing, like this,
I'm just stunned. Whole crew, the crew was very small, 4 or 5 people, and so talented, so on it. They were very respectful and complimentary of me, but I know their job, and I'm just like,
hey,
dudes, I know what you're doing, and I appreciated the efficiency with which they were able to move through things.
Like I've got I've got an iPhone 7S or 7S Plus or whatever the new one is, because my 6S died.
Mm-hmm.
So this phone can shoot 4K.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous that
a phone can shoot
that
4K.
technology just increasingly gets smaller and less expensive to the point that, look, you can shoot with really basic gear that the gear that's really readily available. You can get these incredible, like if you want those long pull out shots, like the end of Chinatown, that long pull out. Well, you either have to have a helicopter, you have to have a Chapman Nike crane, or you need something that can pull out.
Yeah, guess what? Don't need any of that stuff.
Now it's like
you put a GoPro on a drone, and somebody
on.
Can run that control. I'm telling you, I was just stunned. I was like, there was a lot of great things happening in that day, and we'll talk about that. But that to me was the moment. I was like, and I'm like taking pictures and throwing them up on YouTube.
That's the thing. That's
I'm like the amateur going, you gotta get a picture of this. I can't believe this is happening.
That's what I feel like an old man when I see technology that like. The next generation, the generation right behind us, are millennials who are digital natives. Like I'm right on the edge of being a digital immigrant because I didn't grow up with technology that's readily available, and you either. But when they do something, and I just go, "Whoa, you can do that!" Like it just makes you feel so old.
There's a couple, to go back further in my film history. My first film was shot on 16 millimeter. Jack Fell Down. Second film, Flamingo Dreams, was shot on 35.
Yeah.
But actually before that, even in a film that I starred in and worked on. What was that even called? It was Christo Asefi was the director, and I'm forgetting the name of it. Oh, that's terrible. God. Anyway, doesn't matter. I sat with him in an editing room and watched him cut film.
Right.
You get, like you say this to students now, they look at you with a blank film, look on your face. But when you made films, you used to have to cut film. You literally had to get a work print of the film and cut the film, tape it together. That's how things were edited.
Yeah.
And then when I made Flamingo Dreams in 1997, we rented an editing system called Lightworks, which literally filled a room of an office with technology to to cut the film. We get all the images telecine, so you're actually cutting video.
Right.
But yeah, so that happened. We weren't cutting video. It was still digitally processed. It was a digital cut, and then you would take that edit list to an editor to physically cut the film again. That was still how this is done. Now, the editor an editing program that you can download and put in your iPhone 7 is 1,000 times better than a room full of editors in 1997, which is now 20 years ago. That again hurts my head.
Well, there's there's this app that I have. I think it's $10. It's called Filmic Pro for the iPhone. I don't know, it may be for Android as well, but Filmic Pro, you can set focus, you can set aperture, you can color correct.
Yeah.
You can you can program it to pull focus.
Yeah.
If you're going if you need to go from foreground to background.
Yeah.
You can and you do all that while you shoot 4K.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Now, all that said, you cannot get drunk with technology.
No.
Because you still have to have a story to tell.
Well,
you still have to have performers that can execute a story. You still need technicians to put the story together in a way that's going to make sense to an audience. It's just that there are tools now that everybody can have. It's kind of a level playing field.
I always think about it in the sense of, like, you can record, if you're making music, there are so many different ways that you can record an entire album in GarageBand and have as many samples as you want and pull in as much stuff and digitally, move stuff around and to infinity. And
auto-tune.
And auto-tune. And
got some auto-tune stories.
You can master it in GarageBand. You can do all that stuff.
Yeah.
The Beatles recorded on a 4-track. Mm-hmm. Everything they ever recorded, you had 4 tracks. Mm-hmm. That's it. So everything. Sgt. Pepper was recorded on a 4-track. Abbey Road was recorded on a 4-track. The White Album was recorded on a 4-track. Mm-hmm. So you had,
explain a little bit what a 4-track is.
So on a 4-track, you have 4 individual signals that go into a mix. So, like, think of it as 4 train tracks. So you can put a certain number of stuff on each track. Mm-hmm. So the most and what you would have to do would be bounce down. So you could record, say, at most 4 individual inputs. Yeah. Like, you could record guitar, bass, drums, and vocal, and then you could bounce that down to 1 track in your final mix. And then you could put harmony vocals, 4 tracks of harmony vocals, and bounce that to a 2nd track. You only have 4 tracks to work with. I was reading a story yesterday about Bruce Springsteen, his Nebraska album. Mm-hmm. He recorded that on a 2-track Tascam tape recorder.
Wow.
That the other deck that he used to dub and to bounce tracks down was a boom box that literally had fallen overboard when he was fishing, and he fished it out of the lake and left it on his front porch, and it started working again one day, and he was like, I'll just record that. That's that album.
Let me contrast that with, there was an album by My Chemical Romance called The Black Parade.
Right, yeah, great.
And it's a great, just a wonderful concept album this band did, but I listened to an interview with the band talking about the recording of that album, and the song Mother that they had Liza Minnelli sing a track on. I cannot remember, but one of these 2 numbers is true. It was either 256 or 512 tracks on that.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, even when you look at a song like Bohemian Rhapsody, Queen were recording on 16 track, and Bohemian Rhapsody had. Yeah. I mean, there are like 8 guitar tracks, individual guitar harmonies and stuff. The vocals and the story was that at one point they were losing a lot of the high end frequencies. Yeah. And so they were like, where's all the high end going? And they looked at the tape, the 2-inch tape, and they had literally worn all of the oxide off the tape. Oh, they had to make a copy of it really quickly, because if not, it would have all been lost. But that's how you had to do it. And you had to actually physically cut. You to record and to edit audio, if you needed to splice something, that's what splicing is. Yeah. It's cutting 2 things and putting them together. So it's just...
So digital technology. Yeah. So the bottom line of this conversation, which is very interesting to me, is that, digital we now have the ability with digital technology to... essentially create infinite tracks to create what we want, splice them together. Now, there's a lot of argument going around, again, now, digital in the return to analog, that things were better People want albums again. The recordings. Foo Fighters were big in the start of selling vinyl again. Metallica now owns their own album pressing plant in Germany. So if you really want the sound of Metallica and you're really an analog file, their albums, they're pressing them themselves. They're essentially doing what Netflix is doing. They're distributing their own stuff.
And that's, I don't know, the analog digital thing to me, it's never made that much of a difference to me. I will say I think some of the old analog stuff, because of the technology they were using, it's more compressed, which can give it a better sound sometimes.
Well, and sometimes too, there's also an ambiance that there's, if the album's scratched a little bit,
right,
and and it has dust in it, there's something about that needle pulling the sound off there, a little bit of a sound that just hits you in a more real, more complete way. It's hard to describe the difference, and analog is, like I said, much more compressed and doesn't cover as much. Henry Rollins talks about this a bit on
I think
Rogan's podcast.
I like the idea that some stuff is like when you're recording analog, there's only so much stuff that you can fix, right? Because it's really interesting creatively to put yourself in a box. Right. Like, okay, here are the parameters. We have to work inside these parameters. Yeah. There's if you listen to not a remastered version, but an original version of Ziggy Stardust, the song Ziggy Stardust from David Bowie's, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. There's when the guitar comes in, it plays through the opening riff, and then when the drums come in, you hear like an extra click. And what it was like a static electric click that somehow got transferred to the tape, and they couldn't get it off. It happened on the beat, but like just a little bit off the beat. So it's really, you don't really notice it, but they were like, well, we can't get it off the tape.
But that makes that song that's the thing that analog brings, is that lack of perfection.
Yes, things are just a little bit.
They're just not quite.
Stuff's just a little bit out of time, or the drums are just a little bit faster. They're a little bit slower, or that beat is just not quite.
Which becomes the human element, which is what, to me, that's what's so awesome about it. But see, that to me, how that translates into film is capturing that moment of real human interaction. That's what I teach in. In film, my film acting classes,
and to capture that real, and to kind of go like, hey, look, we've got one chance to make, and that's like we've got one shot to get this shot right. Yeah, like there's only one opportunity to get this shot, because what was it? There's a movie like where there's like a train wreck. And the train, like they put a camera on the tracks, and there's a train wreck, and the train comes to rest right in front of the camera. Yeah. And it's like, we have one chance, like whatever the footage is,
that's what the footage is going to be.
But when you can shoot it in a room with a green screen, or you can go like, I don't quite like it.
Let's do that. Cue the train wreck again. Yeah, that to me is where it loses it. But that's, to me, where we get to advantage independent filmmakers with no money that can. However, the more technology progresses, the more ability we have as independent filmmakers with no money to correct things that need correcting. And all that is closer to us and available in our iPhones.
And I think that there's a difference. Just because you can shoot a movie doesn't mean you know how to shoot a movie.
Well, yeah, that's
it's like just you can have all the technology to record an album, but it doesn't mean that you understand how to write a good song, how to perform that song, and how to put all those pieces together. And that's a learning process.
But to me, that's what it all comes down to, and that's my biggest problem. With the YouTube generation, is most of the stuff that's out there is crap.
And I like and I like to be able to see stuff like I expect that everyone's first couple videos or first couple short films or movies
absolutely
that they're
put them up there.
They're going to be crap. Yeah. But like if we're 5 years down the road, and it's no better. It's you're just working that one style, and there's no progression, and there's no. Then,
then what value does that have? Yeah. All right, so now that we've backed into the subject of shooting on Wednesday, what a fun experience. My friend Mike Sigler, who was a childhood friend, we played church league basketball together at Welsh Memorial Baptist Church, and locally here in Frostburg. And then we were friends again in college, did a couple shows, most notably And a Nightingale Sang. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, 20 years got between us. We found each other on Facebook, and he ended up coming out to audition for A Christmas Tree Miracle. And he ended up doing, I think, the role that he auditioned for. I'm not sure that actually ended up in the movie. But he ended up coming out and doing a day or two of background work. And so he appears in the film. He's the guy milling around in the background, getting coffee during a really important scene in the coffee shop in the movie. But that got him bit with the acting bug.
Right.
And so for the last 5 years, he has been working all the time in independent film. He is out of the D.C., Germantown, Maryland area, and he's in a clique. He does a lot of independent films, and mentions a role that he had talked to the producer about a few months ago, and I agreed to come out and do it yesterday, and just had a blast doing it. And it was a lot of fun. I played I've already I cannot tell you enough about how talented the group was that I was working with. The crew were small, efficient, kept things moving. The other performers there were fantastic, Mike and Tim, and the young man who was originally brought up in Israel and is now living in Georgia. All of them, just beyond just being talented, just a nice group of people to spend the day with. And there's nothing like being in that environment and making a movie. So just a very fun, positive experience. Mike listens to our podcast, I think, fairly regularly.
Very nice.
And so we are definitely going to have him as a sit-in guest.
Sure.
And hopefully we can figure out phone-in guests. My friend Don Amon down in Oklahoma is very up on the Oscars.
Oh.
And now I'm seeing Moonlight tonight, but I'm not very Oscar literate this year.
Yeah, I haven't really paid attention, unfortunately.
He's offered, if we can figure out freaking Skype before next week, we can have him weigh in.
Oscar picks?
Yeah, we can have Don weigh in with his Oscar picks. I think that might be fun. And we've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah, it'd be cool. So. No, I think it's so interesting now that with, again, the plus side of technology is if you want to learn how to run lights, if you want to learn how to light a scene, there's an infinite number of resources. Like, here's how you do it. Here's how you would run sound. Here's how you edit. Here's how you do all these things. So you can, if you have people who are really motivated to do it, they can absolutely learn that. Where you would have either had to have worked on a movie before, you gotten practical experience, gone to film school. It's so interesting,
But I'll give a shout out to these people. They are JC Films. I believe it's www.jcfilms.com.
Okay.
They are, I believe, religious. I believe they're a Christian-oriented film company. But they are cranking out movie after movie right now.
That's cool.
And I think all shooting in West Virginia, taking advantage. West Virginia has a sweet tax incentive for shooting in the state. And that's something that we have to consider where we are here, because we're very West Virginia adjacent. Hopefully Maryland steps up to the plate and gets something to match what West Virginia is. West Virginia is more friendly to independent filmmakers.
That's interesting.
Because I think their minimums. I think they have a minimum spend of $25,000.
Wow.
And I don't know what Maryland's minimum is, but it's far more than that. And that's the thing that gets in the way sometimes. But that's all business stuff. That's like blah 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 blah. But anyway, anyway, Just a tremendously positive experience with all the people. Jason Campbell is he's the JC in JC Films, and it was just nothing but a good experience with a bunch of good people. I played a Texas sheriff. Some girth was added to me. I had some beard growth that I finally got to take off on Thursday. I don't know. I always think my accents are terrible, but everybody was very calm. My daughter was very critical of my accent as I was practicing it.
Right.
But everybody there was very complimentary and supportive, and it was
nice.
Certainly a lot of fun to do. And like I said, that crew, that DP, Aaron, the director, Dorian Clevenger, he's out of Pittsburgh, an artist. I enjoyed talking to him for a long time. Zach Laban and the fourth guy I'm forgetting, Rhonda Suter's one of the producers.
Right.
She is only about an hour from us. She is going to pop in on a Tuesday night at some point.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
So, nice. Actress, producer, attended LA Film School out there. So this is a tremendous amount of shout-outs here. But it was just, you have one of those days around people, like this is my people. These are good people.
Who like... when you find like-minded people who you can talk, you can talk the intricacies of a thing with. It's
filmmaking, performance, improv, everything.
I always feel that
editing.
way. Like you run across someone who, like before it became sort of the dominant part of the culture. You find someone who knows comic books, and you start going like, oh yeah, well what about this, and not just like oh, do you like Superman? It's like, what do you think about this element of Superman's character, like. Breaking down like the intricacies of how that works as mythology. Yeah, it can be really, really interesting. Just being with your tribe, your people is nice. Yeah.
And this is, these are people that are local enough to us. We can hopefully get a few of those folks up to work on our film. It's nice that we're beginning to see the artists around us that become a possibility for getting a film made here. Right. So, okay, so that's everything that's new at the movie Brewdio. Okay. And again, I'm still bubbling over about my students at the college.
Yeah.
We did the first round of shooting, and they actually turned in a paper yesterday. So reading papers for the first time, and one of them sent me an email, and they called me Professor Myers, and I was like, wow, I think that's the first time that someone said that in like. And that wasn't like
it wasn't non-sarcastic
in a non-sarcastic manner.
Right. Yeah.
I cannot say enough. I just love every one of these kids, and they're so much fun, and their enthusiasm about film and about acting and about perform. This paper was about an existing performer and their work and relating it back to the work that they do in class, and I just love every one of them. I love all their papers. Yeah, and fun group.
That sense of. When you have access to the stuff that you really want to have access to do the things you want to do, it's like I always think about when I first started in radio, and I would be at the radio station on like a Saturday morning by myself, just updating news and weather and whatever. But you realize like I have all this equipment at my disposal. I can do anything, if I want to if I want to mess around with equipment and record stuff and like I have. At that time, resources that very, very few people had access to. Now it's fairly generic, but I could record whatever I wanted. I can play with this equipment. I have access.
There's this. That's the wonderful enthusiasm that's coming out of them. Number one, in like seeing themselves act on film. In a scene. From Good Will Hunting. From something that they've seen professional actors do, and they look at themselves and go, "Holy crap! I can do that too." Right. And then some some of them are like, "I might be even better."
Right. Exactly.
There's that, and then after class, I've had several students come in, and a guy was in yesterday, Austin, just this wonderful student of mine, but just like what are you doing? Whenever you shoot something, I want to be on it. I want to, just that enthusiasm and thirst to do this. I just feel like we're really starting to identify the people that are interested in being a part of it. And it's fun when you start to identify your tribe,
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So we've talked a lot about movies, a lot about all that kind of stuff. Podcasts.
Yes.
Have you listened to anything?
I've been listening to, I need to dig deeper into it, but do you know the podcast, My Brother, and Me?
No. I'm going to write that down.
So it's the McElroy brothers, and I think they are actually in either Charleston or Huntington, West Virginia, believe it or not. And, yes.
What? Because that's where we're going to make another. JC Films is making another film there. Yeah. The one I was talking about directing, but just time-wise, it wasn't going to work out.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're three brothers. And it's basically an advice column show, but they say at the very beginning, don't follow the McElroy brothers' advice is terrible, and you should never follow it. And so it's funny, like the concept. It's a good setup. People will write in with a question, and then they basically debate the question between themselves.
Oh my God, that sounds like an improv exercise.
It's fantastic.
We haven't played that. And I've got to play
we'll have to do that.
Good, bad, and even worse advice.
Oh yes. Oh, we need to do
good,
that.
Good, bad, even worse advice. Remind me next Tuesday. We got to do that.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just a very, very very funny show. And the part that I think I really enjoy about it the most is these are three guys who obviously they are funny and enjoy being funny with each other in a way that only siblings can be. Like even your really close friends that you grew up with, you can get close, but like your siblings, my sisters can make me laugh in a way that no one else can make me laugh because they have this beeline on my sensibilities in a way that no one else does. And just listening to these guys just goof on each other and cut on each other and crack jokes on each other, and it's been around forever. I was seeing references to it, and I thought, I'll need to listen to that.
I'm gonna listen.
Yeah,
I of course, with my interest in Pinterest, my interest in Pinterest seems to be waning. I haven't been on it as much this week. But there was a
diminished Pinterest interest.
A diminished Pinterest interest. But there was a meme that had a bunch of recommended positive podcasts.
Yeah.
And so I downloaded, I'm sure, 9 of them.
Nice.
And 8 of them sucked. But the one that stuck is the one you've been talking about forever, or making reference to, and that's the Minimalists.
They're great, man. Those two guys are awesome.
I like the Minimalists. Yeah. Well, now, as I say that, I listened to the latest episode from a couple days ago, and I thought it was terrible. Because they were talking about friends. So it seems like they're a bit like, I don't need advice on how to make friends. I'll work that out, thanks. But their overall philosophy of what minimalism is and their approach to things, love it.
Yeah, I love it. I've been reading a lot about that and really looking at. I keep seeing it keeps popping up, so I'm gonna have to read it. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't know if you know the book.
Stephen Covey.
Yeah,
I remember Covey.
So
that was on my day.
I need to swing back around to that stuff because it's kind of where I'm at too. The Minimalists are really, really good. Just in remove stuff, kind of remove everything from your life to some degree. Like if you've said like, okay, I'm going to start with nothing. It's like we talked about last week. Universally block everyone, unfollow everyone on Facebook.
Oh my God!
And then opt people in that you actually want to hear from.
And I actually looked for that option, and I couldn't. I can't find it.
I think it's a. I'll send you the link. I can't remember exactly where it was, but there's something.
I think I would make a list of about 10 people that I would opt back in. And
I would probably post a lot more and be more active on Facebook if it was just a select group of people that
it has become it is somewhat returning to a slightly less negative place, but politics has just become a huge part of that, and and it's extremely toxic on both sides.
Yes.
And I'm not enjoying. It's not why I used to like to go on Facebook,
Right.
and it became why I was going on Facebook.
Right.
And I don't want to play that game anymore.
Yeah,
it's not that I don't care about what's going on in the world. I do.
Well, that goes back to
Yeah.
to Stephen Covey and also to Mr. Money Mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's in your circle of control and what's in your circle of concern? You like the circle.
Yes,
there's
yeah,
tons of stuff
yeah.
that's in your circle of concern. Like, if you're worried about the current administration, or you're worried about climate change, or you're worried about all these things. These are things you can't do anything about. You can't control them.
What you can do is, make calls to your representatives.
Correct, yes.
What is a waste of your time is to engage in arguments on Facebook.
Correct.
No one is ever, that is not going to change anything.
Right.
And you're usually arguing over misinformation on both sides anyway.
Yeah.
So that's not going to change anything. But what you can do is call your representatives and express your opinion, and there are lots of other things. Michael Moore is offering a lot of valuable advice right now on what someone can do to be politically involved.
Yeah.
And I think that's valid.
And I think so if you focus on stuff that you can control, then it also helps to tamp down that feeling of helplessness and panic, because you go like, hey, look, there's all this stuff that I don't have any control of, but I can control these things, and these are the things I'm going to control. And I think so. Like, from a minimalist perspective, if you sort of look at your life and you go, okay, take everything away. What would I want? Like what brings value to my life? Okay, well, my family brings value to my life, obviously.
But for me, it's like, well, let's stop there, because really, my family brings value to my life.
Yeah.
How good of a father am I being here?
Right.
How good of a parent? How good of a role model? How good of a husband? My house, the environment I live in, the school, that we go to, the business that I have, like these, this is, really taking care of these things at your core, and of course finances, which, that's always challenging, but mine, one thing the minimalists have given me is just a different way of thinking about that, and a different approach to that I'm going to start implementing in my life.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it from a minimalist perspective and say, okay, well, maybe spending 5 hours a day on Facebook, does that bring value to my life? Well, no, not. I mean, or maybe it does, but for me, no, I really don't think it does.
I would rather spend that 5 hours a day doing things from that list. One, working on the films, the movie studio, building my relationship with my kids, participating in things with my kids, working on things that involve their school. Those are things that have more value to me than engaging in a 5-hour political argument on Facebook that's not going anywhere.
Well, and I think you and I both, I think for the most part, we're fairly non-materialistic. I'm not driven by the idea of I gotta have these, I gotta have fancy shoes, or I have to buy.
You have a really nice phone right now.
I do have a really nice phone.
I am coveting that phone.
It's a very nice phone, but and even the phone is an example of because my last phone, the cellular antenna inside it broke, and I was at the end where it's like, well, you can upgrade. Well, then I'll, and my wife actually surprised me with it, but I would have been perfectly happy. In some ways, I was perfectly happy with my 4S. Yeah. And as long as if you're not driven by that sense of
gotta have the bigger, better, best thing.
New iPad just came out, gotta go buy it.
Yeah,
gotta get.
It's what do I really need? I mean, I need a computer in my life, and I need, I do, I've come to a place I do need a phone in my life, and I do, and I need it to text, and it is nice to be able to check my email when I'm out, things like that. But really taking a look at the things that drive your life, and. Is the 4K camera necessary?
Well, and that's the thing. How much do you how much do you use it? How much do you if it's something that you use all the time, if it's a really valuable tool, then yes, absolutely. You need that. If it's something that's like, oh well, it's I use it twice a year. Well, it's probably not necessary then.
Right.
It's like
right.
I'm in the process slowly of cleaning out our basement. Just getting rid of just junk, and and so I go down there now with kind of new eyes and look at stuff and go, I haven't looked at that thing in 6 years.
Yeah,
I haven't opened this box in 6 years. It obviously is not anything so important that I can't live without it, because I've lived without it for 6 years.
Don't open it, throw it out.
Yeah, just like start putting that stuff on the curb.
Who was the guy that there was a clutter clearing series of books that were out a few years ago, and I listened through all of them. I really liked them, but one of his things was junk drawer, no such thing.
Right.
There's no such thing as a junk drawer.
Right.
There's no such thing. If you have a junk drawer, take it to the garbage can, throw it all out. There's no such thing as a junk drawer.
Right.
Things have a purpose or they don't.
Or they don't.
If it's a junk drawer, that's garbage. And I have a box in my attic still from our last house when we before we moved to Maryland, and it's like contents of junk drawer, never open.
Right.
And I still haven't thrown the box away. I don't know why.
It's psychological. Well, and that's one of the things. One of the minimalists said he has adopted their book, Everything That Remains.
Right.
Is really, really good.
That's okay.
And he says in the book he has a 20-20 principle, which is like he doesn't keep extra phone chargers. He doesn't keep extra miscellaneous stuff. It's not like, well, I should hold on to this charger just in case I need an extra one.
Right.
No. If it's something that he can replace within a 20-minute drive for $20 or less, throw it away, because if I need a charger, I'll drive 20 minutes up to 20 minutes away and spend less than $20 or less to replace this thing. And if it's something that is outside of that, okay, well, maybe you do need an extra whatever. But I think that I think it's breaking away from that sense of keeping up with the Joneses and like, okay, well, how do you add value to your life, and how do you, like, what things can you do? That's another. That's a Stephen Covey thing as well. Like design, start with the end result in mind. So
start with the end in mind. You begin with an end in mind.
Right. Like you say, like, well, I don't have time to work out. Right. Right. I can't spare 30 minutes to work out, or I can't spare 15 minutes because it takes too much time. Yeah. But those are things that could greatly enrich your life and will save you money on the back end and save you time on the back end and heartache and whatever. If
health costs.
Yeah, if you just do it.
Invest the money in the gym and
so it's hard. It's hard to reprioritize those things, but
this whole year so far has been a process of that. And honestly, I think I'm doing very well at it. But like anything, it's always 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Yeah. I worked out all last week. Haven't worked out once this week. But last week, I got in that groove, and I was going over to the FSU gym. I think I did 5 out of 7 days. Yeah. And then this week,
and it's been it's frustrating. Like it's this week for me has been a wash because I've been you're sick all week. You're like, what do you do?
When that bottle, if you go in the gym in the first place, you might not have gotten sick.
I know that's what Tracy keeps saying. That's what my mom always said. Any kind of aches or pains. Yeah. She would say lack exercise.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't want to jinx myself, but honestly, I don't get sick very often. Yeah. Usually, I have a pretty good workout regimen. It slipped this week and just buried in a busy week. Taxes, blah blah. Excuses. That's a
Mr. Money Mustache thing where he says he doesn't get sick because he just has reinforced in his brain that he's an incredibly healthy person. Yeah, and the placebo effect helps boost your whatever.
It truly does. Yeah, and honestly, especially since kids came along and stuff, I don't really have time to take it. There's no down day. Right. You're still going to have to do stuff. So you might as well not have a cold. Right. Because it's just going to, no one's going to take care of Dad. Right. The kids get
Nobody
sick.
Cares about you. Nobody cares if you feel bad.
Nobody gets soup for Dad. Right. Not going to happen. So.
No soup for Dad.
No soup for you. That guy used to go, the soup Nazi used to go to a church I went to out in L.A. Yeah, I've been talking a lot about church. I'm not a churchy guy.
Is it the one with the snake?
Center for it's a snake church I used to go to. No, it's the Burbank Church of Spiritual Living, or the Center for Spiritual Living in Burbank, which used to be called Religious Science. They thought better of that because people connected that with Scientology.
Right.
And it is not Scientology at
right.
all. They've since kind of, I think, rebranded as Centers for Spiritual Living. I used to love that place. But anyway, the Soup Nazi went there for a while.
That's funny.
The actor that played the Soup
right.
Nazi. And Tess used to babysit his kid in the children's church or whatever.
Huh.
And that was a lot of fun. Let's see. So podcast. So I really, my brother and me. I'm
check it out.
Very,
I think
very
enjoy
interested. What did you do this week not related to technology?
I tried not to die.
Yeah,
which was good. That was This week has been just a major, a major wash for me.
I'm glad you made it today.
Yeah, I feel much better today. I feel much better today. I'm still congested, but I can actually smell and taste. Which is good. I just made a hand gesture.
It just smells.
I can smell and taste. I don't know why that.
We are gesturing a lot during this podcast. And a while ago, when I was describing Ryan in the helicopter, I'm shaking my hand, going, "The point was, folks, the shot was really shaking, but you can't see that."
So it's been. I'm slowly recovering. Yeah, most times I get these little things where it burns itself out in 4 or 5 days, which isn't too bad. But it's been a real. I'm trying to think, did I do anything not related to technology while I was sick in bed? Not that I was really sick in bed.
You probably watched a lot of movies and listened to a
stuff.
lot of podcasts.
No, I was still cleaning the house and doing stuff and working. It wasn't that it. I wasn't laying around. I wanted to lay around, but again, it's when you're an adult, it's just not really an option. Like you still have to do laundry. You still have to, whatever. But no, I slept, which was nice. So that's it. That's what I'll say. I slept.
You slept.
That's my answer.
I don't. Let's see. What did I do? I feel like I did a lot of stuff not related to technology.
Well, you acted in a movie.
I acted in a movie.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's creating more technology in a weird kind of way.
Right.
That was a lot of fun, and I don't know. I haven't exercised the acting muscle in a long time, and I took it. And usually I'm also directing or something like that. So I took it seriously and kind of went, I might do more of this.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun taking it from that perspective and just being a part. Like I said, any kind of creative thing that we do, we get the same thing in improv class. And stuff. Anytime you're part of something creative, it's just fun. Yeah. And for me, I'm a bit on the control freak side, and it's usually my show. And it was great being a part of someone else's show. Yeah. I love going to someone else's class, someone else's production, because there's so many problems on that. All the problems aren't mine.
Right.
The fact that they didn't get this shot, or this didn't turn out the way it did, or they were waiting all day for a
bulb. Problem.
They were stressed because they were waiting for a light bulb to show up that had come in.
Right.
So there was a miscommunication about who was supposed to pick up the bulb. You could see them, getting frustrated about it, and that's because everything's dependent. They needed the light shot to get the shot to make their day, and I'm like, I got nothing to do with this. All I got to do is, hang around, eat food, and know my lines.
You were at craft services.
Know my lines when it's time. Yeah, I put on 20 pounds worth of M&Ms. M&Ms and peanuts are just there all the time, and 62 Diet Pepsis, I think, to balance that out. Whilst talking to this male model, the Israeli guy, about diet and nutrition while eating, like he does not consume carbs because he's going to a modeling shoot, I think next Tuesday or something, and so he's consuming no carbs. I'm sitting here eating M&M's, talking to him, going, "Wow, he might be the most beautiful man I've ever seen," and I mean that in
in a platonic sense,
in a platonic sense. I mean, he certainly is a beautiful man. He's a married man, married a lady from Georgia.
Right.
So
not like he married someone like me.
No, not even look twice at someone like me.
I mean, I'm okay. I don't know why he's so stuck up about it.
Tess teases me about that all the time. I probably should have been gay. But I feel like I missed my chance.
Yeah, I feel like if it wasn't for the sort of sexual relations with guys, I could probably I like guys and I enjoy camaraderie with guys and stuff. I don't think that other aspect of it just doesn't manifest
has not been
itself,
particularly appealing to me. But no judgment on anybody that would be appealing to. That's the only aspect of it that got missed on.
I'm just saying, even if you're not going to the party, it's nice to be invited.
Yeah. Right? And I was invited a lot.
That's what I ever understood when guys would go like, "Oh, I don't want a gay guy to hit." I was like, "Why not? What's the?"
It's like, no, that's
right. Like, well, if he hits on me, I have to have sex with him. Like,
that
doesn't make any sense.
In my early days in Los Angeles, I was very naive about, like, I'd started to encounter a little bit of I was brought up in a way that it wasn't so much that anybody was phobic or that anybody said it was wrong or anything else. I really just didn't have an awareness that there was another option.
Right. Yeah.
I was, it was kind of in college where you're starting to see that. I guess that. I still didn't quite know what to do with it.
Right.
But in Los Angeles, I had a lot of incidents where I got like you shook hands and got the hand tickle. Rub and stuff. Why is he tickling my hand? I don't understand why is that? A weird place to do it here in the bathroom.
Exactly.
Why is he tickling my hand in the bathroom? I just don't understand it.
Doesn't make any
sense.
In
the sauna? What? That happened too.
If only you had known. Think of the experiences you missed out on.
I think I'd have done well in that realm had I had any inkling of what was going on around me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that also goes back to the there was that era where Dan Savage talks about this, where, like, he said his mom never realized he was gay because in her generation, to think someone was gay, that was the worst thing that you could think about someone, and that would make you a bad person to think that, and so you never thought that. Like, so like people thought Liberace was straight because it would make you a bad person to think that he was gay.
Yeah. Well, my generation was the AIDS crisis, so gay had come, into everyone's consciousness, and deadly disease that's affecting gays had come into everyone's conscious. So it's almost for a while the stigma got even worse, I'm sure.
Right, yeah. There's a great...
it was a confusing time.
Great documentary, How to Survive a Plague, that's all about... all about that...
You mentioned that one before, and that the one activist, and I'm forgetting because I had seen him in the CNN video.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's another good thing that's going on right now that I'm not watching.
Oh, those
CNN history of comedy.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, unfortunately, all of those I'll binge watch it when it hits Netflix. But I enjoy the CNN documentaries. I told you I love the 80s. And the 70s before that,
I read, actually, talking about comedians and comedy through the ages, I read a review of a book about Milton Berle written by his son.
Interesting.
That's one of those, like, expose, tell-all, like when who was it? When Bing Crosby's son, Gary, wrote that book about how Bing Crosby was this terrible dad. So it's kind of like that. It's the review that I read was it was sort of like this is like a dumpster fire of what a bad person Milton Berle was.
Yeah.
But again, like, funny guy, good person. I don't know. We talked about that too. Like, comedy people. I think comedy people of that generation maybe even more damaged.
Can you imagine? Well, yes, and it's hard to imagine now what first generation, quote unquote, stars must have been.
Yeah.
Because there weren't a generation of stars who had been through the pitfalls, the good and the bad and everything with being a television star before Milton Berle, before Sid Caesar, before, other than each other in a 5 or 10 year period there. But like, there's no history of it then.
Right.
To even be able to go in with open eyes or an expectation of what that is. That whole idea of television being something new, films being something new, this form of entertainment being something new.
Right.
It's almost it's hard to wrap your head around.
And
what
so
any
much
of
of
that
it,
could be.
and so much of it too, like that early Hollywood system where you've got his name completely escapes me. Rudolph Valentino. And you have these guys who are in Errol Flynn. I mean, the phrase "in like Flynn." Yeah. Was because he was not especially he was especially promiscuous, so
was that based on that? I heard another.
Yes, no, that's always what I heard. That's what I always heard.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I read Gregory McDonald wrote a series of the Fletch books, and I got the Fletch movies. But there was a character in Fletch named Flynn. He also wrote several Flynn books. They were short, pulp fiction, but funny. I enjoyed, the movie. Certainly, the first movie and somewhat the second movie really did the character justice. But yet he was different. I shouldn't say he did the character justice.
Right.
Comedically, he did the character justice,
It was
but
different,
he was very different
concept,
from the book. But yeah, I read several of those little books in my early days in L.A. But anyway, the character Flynn. Yeah. Although that's not where I went off on a really strange tangent here, and I cannot recover. It's fine. But I think sparked some memory.
That's the thing with those early stars. If you had Rock Hudson, who was gay, I mean, and deeply closeted, they had to match him up with you had to have a sham marriage because you couldn't have rumors that for years there were the rumors that Rock Hudson and Jim Nabors were lovers. And to the point that they weren't allowed to be seen in the same restaurant together, not together, but just in the same restaurant at the same time.
My God, Jim's still with us.
Yeah,
he got a liver transplant in the early '90s, and I remember seeing him in an event after he got that liver transplant. Yeah. So he is 25 years into a new liver, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I don't know what made me think of that.
I don't know.
You mentioned Jim Nabors.
Jim Nabors. Well, he
that's
doesn't
what
come
I
up
referenced.
Much.
Yeah.
But no, those early days, when you had to who was it, Rita Hayworth, who was Latino or Latina, and they changed her name completely and dyed her hair and was like, no, you're Rita Hayworth now. And the studios exerted so much control over those stars. Yep. It's no wonder that they ended up having issues with their kids and of course there's the issues of Mommy Dearest, the actress whose name escapes me, not Betty Davis, but
Joan Crawford.
Yeah. Who? What was
what a great film.
Well,
Mommy Dearest. And, Whatever Happened to Baby
Whatever
Jane.
Happened to Baby
Jane. That was a creepy film.
Yeah. Well, and when
that was early '60s, wasn't it? Yeah.
When
it was in black and white when it could have been in color. Right. Like in that period where they kind of chose.
Yeah. What was the I think it was the Betty Davis quote when Joan Crawford died. I think where it was like, I've heard you should only speak good of the dead. Joan Crawford is dead. Good.
Oh, man. I didn't hear that one.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's they did not like each other.
All right. So so I guess I've enjoyed conversation, and it ended up being a fairly lively conversation. Yeah. Who gets the Kindness Award this week? You've had plenty of time to think about it.
I think I would give it to our friend TJ, who is a friend of the family, and he and my wife have known each other since high school and before. he's just a really good guy, and he really looks out for like us. He's a good friend of the family. Looks out for us and like my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming up this weekend. They're gonna go. He wants to go see an RV show. There's one downstate, so we're gonna go see an RV show.
Nice.
Yeah, just a good guy. Salt of the earth.
Sweet.
I'm just so happy I have another one. It's 2 weeks in a row.
Wow.
It's incredible.
I'm giving mine to Mike Sigler, the aforementioned Mike Sigler, who got me involved in the film I shot on Wednesday. And like it or not, I guess I've kind of haven't talked about it a lot and sort of minimalized it, but it was very flattering to be asked. It was a lot of fun to do. And I just, it's a guy that I've had 2 distinct periods in my life where we hung out a lot, childhood and college, for a few months, and then 30 years passed and we spent a day on the set. Yeah. And it was a really good day, and we got to talk in depth about where life has led us, and we have differing philosophies about things. Yeah. But he's a guy that I don't mind talking to about some things that we may not see eye to eye on, but he's one of the most intelligent, well-read, well-researched. He knows film. He's a cinephile. Nice. We're referring to old movies and stuff in our conversation. And but yeah, a lot of the things we talked about were kindness and relationships and marriage and all the things, so many of those things in life that matter. Yeah. So yeah, big shout out with Mike. He and I actually did. If anybody's friends on Facebook with me, we did the Facebook Live. Oh, we did about a little 15-minute clip that got up there. And I felt like I was very I watched it. I was a little boring in the interview. I wasn't speaking loud because I thought I perceived that they were still shooting downstairs, and so it's kind of keeping my voice a little low. I wasn't in my normal commercial selling mode. Right. Pitch mode. Yeah, pitch mode. Hard sell. I feel like I am on this program. Right. So I think that about wraps it up. Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to get to... I am determined... Oh, we might not. I may have Monday... There's an event coming up. I may be out of town Monday and Tuesday, so it may be late in the week. We'll just have to see how the weekend goes with this weather. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I guess that is about it. You feeling complete? Feel good. Yeah. I've achieved the state of now. You've achieved the state of now. Yes. Feel good. All right. So once again, I'm J.W. Myers. I'm Karl. And just Karl. Just Karl. I'm going by one name. Just going. Yeah, sorry, you usually say JW. It threw off the rhythm. Oh, I did just say J. Yeah, at the end I say, once again, I'm JW. You're killing me, man. That's it. Once again, he's JW. Take 2. No, we're not taking 2. This is all gonna freaking stay in here, man. It's all in there. If the conversation about Yakov Smirnoff stays for the final, then this stays in. I wonder he still has not contacted us. I'm beginning to get upset with his management. Somebody hasn't looked into this. In Mother Russia. Maybe we're gonna have to. Maybe once we actually put these on contacts you. Well, your podcast contacts you. Once we actually put this on an RSS feed, an RSS feed, maybe Yakov will contact us. Once again, I'm JW. I'm Karl, and this has been the Movie Brewdio podcast with JW and Karl, episode number 10. Number 10, baby. Number 10. Woo. And as we are so fond of saying. That's it for Tit. See you next week, everybody.